You know, it's really easy to get caught up in all of these new fragrance releases. I mean, these companies, they don't hold anything back. They're constantly trying to crank out as many new fragrances as they can. And, you know, obviously as fragrance enthusiasts, we want to see what all the hype is about. We want to try these fragrances. We want to pick them up and buy them. And it's really easy to forget about the classic fragrances. Forget about the fragrances that came out a while back that are still great and still hold a ton of value, but they just get left in the dust. They just get left in the past because all the focus is on the new releases, which are being pushed out constantly. And it's really a shame to see some of these fragrances being overlooked and not really getting talked about all that often. So today I want to go over 10 forgotten fragrances. These are fragrances that have most likely been out for a while now and they just don't get talked about. No one really brings them up, no one mentions them. You see people post their scent of the day all the time, and really you never see any of these fragrances show up in those posts or show up in any other people's videos. So I wanted to do a video kind of sharing with you what I have in my personal collection that I think is forgotten about, and these are fragrances that I still really do like and that I do try to wear when I can. So I hope you guys are ready to get into this, and I hope you guys stick with me to the end of the video as well. Let's get into this. Starting off with the first fragrance, we have Chanel Allure Homme, or Chanel Allure Pour Homme, whatever you would like to call it. Just the OG. This is what started it all in this extremely successful Chanel Allure fragrance line. And you really don't see anyone talking about the OG. You know, obviously we do have Allure Homme Sport, Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, Allure Homme Edition Blanche, right? Those are kind of the main three from this line that are talked about the most. No one ever talks about this one anymore, and I love this scent. Even though we do have a lot of these other flankers, which are all great in their own right, I still do come back to this one, and I love this scent. Ever since I first smelled it a while back, I'm like, wow, that is something that I need to have in my collection, even though I do have all of the other flankers. It really is an incredible scent, and it is nice for springtime here, like where we are now, because it is a bit more sweet. You do get lemon, but you get some vanilla and some other sweeter notes in there as well. I really love the original Chanel Allure Homme, and honestly, I don't see anyone rocking this stuff anymore, which is a shame. And this is a new bottle, and I get really good performance from it. I was expecting it to be watered down at this point because this fragrance has been out for a long time and reformulations and all that stuff, but I get really solid longevity and honestly really good projection from this scent as well, better than what I was expecting, and it definitely sits up there pretty high in terms of performance with Allure Homme Sport Extreme, Allure Homme Sport, which I get good performance from those as well. This one hangs out with those other new flankers, so I was impressed with that. If you like Chanel fragrances, more specifically the Allure Homme line, don't forget about this one, the OG Chanel Allure Homme. Moving up next, we have John Varvatos Pour Homme. So we got another original fragrance here. This is one that started the John Varvatos fragrance line, and from this we have tons and tons of flankers. I mean, I basically own all of them at this point, aside from a few rare ones and some more expensive ones, but for the most part I've picked up what I've been able to get for a good price. I love the John Varvatos fragrance line. I think they all smell incredible, they all bring some value, and even the original here, the original in my opinion is still worth picking up, even though we have all these other new flankers. Don't sleep on this one either, guys. Trust me, give this one a shot. When you look at the note breakdown, you think it's going to be kind of heavy and sweet, but honestly it has somewhat of a freshness about it, and it does have that signature John Varvatos DNA like you would expect from the fragrances. When you smell this, you'll know it's a John Varvatos, but it is a great scent with great quality for the price. You know, performance is going to suffer a bit, not as bad as some of the other ones, but it's not going to be the strongest fragrance out there, which I've come to accept from this fragrance line, and anyone who likes the scents, you just kind of have to accept that as well. John Varvatos Pour Homme. Guys, make sure you check this one out if you're into the John Varvatos fragrance line. Moving up next, we have Deorro Eau Sauvage Cologne. You know, I really don't hear a whole lot of talk about this fragrance. You know, I still do see some people mention Deorro Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette in videos, which is awesome. I love the Eau de Toilette. I see people mention Sauvage or Eau Sauvage Parfum quite a bit in videos as well, but you just don't see the Cologne version talked about that much. And for me, that's a shame, because this honestly is probably one of my favorites from the line. If you've smelled Eau Sauvage Parfum, you know you get this nice citrus opening, which dries down to something a bit more sweet and aromatic. The citrus in that one smells great, but I mean, the citrus in this one definitely outdoes it. I mean, it's such a crisp, vibrant opening. Anyone who does appreciate the classics and appreciates these kind of like traditional citrus fragrances for men, you got to get your nose on this one. I mean, just looking at the bottle, it's this gorgeous Eau Sauvage bottle with white accenting, just kind of gives you an idea of what this fragrance smells like. It's a classic, timeless men's scent, but, you know, with a lighter and more citrusy, somewhat floral edge to it. Moving up next, we have Nautica Voyage Heritage. Now, this one really kind of fell off the face of the earth, at least from what I've seen. I don't see too much talk about this one, and this one did come out in 2018, so it is only 2 years old, and I just don't see it talked about. I mean, the original Nautica Voyage still talked about quite a bit. You see some talk about N83, maybe you see a little bit of talk about the sport version, and then of course we have the new Midnight Voyage version now, which has been getting a little bit of buzz, but I don't see many people mention Heritage, and I think this is a great flanker. It's got a nice minty quality to it, which is very refreshing and very fun and uplifting. It's really a nice addition to the line here, and it's definitely worth owning. I mean, this one incredibly cheap, just like all the other ones, $13, $14, $15 for 100 ml. You can't beat it at that price. I mean, the least you can do is use it as like a room spray or something to freshen up the area if you don't like wearing it on your skin. I mean, I will have it linked down below along with everything else in this video to Fragrance Discounter, some of the best prices that you can get these for. Throw this one in your cart next time you're checking out. Seriously, it's really, really nice stuff. And again, most people aren't giving this one too much love and attention. Moving up next, we have Tommy Bahama Island Life. You know, I really do like these Tommy Bahama fragrances. There's something about them that just kind of give me a nostalgic feel. Maybe that's just because when I first got into collecting, I did really look at these, and I like the story behind them. I like the names. I like the bottle designs. You know, I've always been kind of into the fresher, aquatic type fragrances, and these are really, really great fresh aquatic fragrances at pretty good prices. For whatever reason, these don't seem to be in stock all that often on discounters. I was looking the other day, and they have some in stock, but they don't have all of them, and you know, a lot of them are out of stock, and that's kind of been like that even when I first started collecting. I remember it's kind of hard for me to get my hands on these at discounted prices because they were always out of stock. I don't really know why that is. I would not recommend you pay retail for these. Retail is probably going to be, you know, $60, $80, something along those lines, the typical retail price for designers. I wouldn't pay that. Definitely scoop these up on discounters when they're available. Again, I'm not sure why stock is weird with these. I don't know if they just get limited quantities or what, but regardless of that, Island Life, it's a nice nutmeg, bergamot, spicy scent. Up next, we've got Bottega Veneta Pour Homme. Now, this is just the EDT version. You do hear a little bit of talk about the extreme version, Bottega Veneta Pour Homme Extreme, which I believe is an EDP concentration, but no one really talks about the EDT. This is where it all started with this fragrance, and the EDT smells great. It's this more classic smelling, somewhat you could say old school, but it smells so good. It's so masculine. It's got this pine needles note. It's got leather. It's got some sweetness to it. It just smells masculine. It smells traditional. Almost smells like you're like staying up in a cabin or something like that. I know that's, you know, people are like, oh, here we go with these weird story comparisons that you see people leave reviews on all the time, but it really does have this like woodsy, cabin, outdoorsy, masculine type of smell to it. Definitely nothing for people who are into the more generic, mass-pleasing types of fragrances. This is not that. This is a classic here, but I really enjoy it. I really appreciate it. And again, you don't see many people talking about the good old EDT version. It's really nice. And even for the record, you don't see too many people talking about the extreme version either. There's a few people out there that do, but this doesn't get a whole lot of love. Moving up next, we have a fragrance from Tom Ford Private Blend. Yes, the Private Blend, and a fragrance that doesn't get a whole lot of love. You may be scratching your head on this one, but this one's actually Tom Ford Oud Mineral. You know, for the most part, the private blend is pretty popular. A lot of those fragrances do get quite a bit of talk. I mean, we have Tuscan Leather, we have Tobacco Vanille, we've got a whole bunch from the line. Oud Wood, Tobacco Oud, all those are popular. All those get quite a bit of love, well deserved. And then, of course, you have the blue fragrance line, Costa Azzurra, and all those other ones. But this one, just from their traditional regular line, Oud Mineral, I don't see too much talk on this one, and I love this fragrance. This is more of a new discovery for me, and it smells so good. This one almost, in my opinion, could have been put into the blue line like I was just talking about, like fragrances like Costa Azzurra and all of those. This one I feel like almost could slot in there, which may be kind of weird when you look at the name Oud Mineral. I will tell you, the oud in this fragrance, not very prominent, and it's not the type of oud that you maybe are traditionally used to smelling. Up next, we have Guerlain Homme Eau de Toilette. This is the older style bottle, but they did repackage it into the new Guerlain bottles, which is the same DNA from what I understand. Regardless, the EDT of Guerlain Homme, not too much talk about this one, but it is still a great scent. It's got a note of mojito, it's got mint, it's got lime, it's got a pretty prominent vetiver note in here in the dry down as well. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to smell like. It's a very, very classy scent, and that's not something you would typically expect when you see a lot of citruses and things like that. Typically, those fragrances are more bright, more fun smelling, but the vetiver in this one does give it a nice classy edge. You know, it's a Guerlain fragrance. You're getting great quality. You're getting a nice, unique scent. Second to last fragrance we have here is Abercrombie & Fitch First Instinct Extreme. Obviously, the Eau de Toilette, very popular, very successful for what it is, but the Extreme version, not a whole lot of talk about this scent. And this is one that I actually reviewed when it first came out, you know, a while back. I believe I was one of the first people to really highlight this on YouTube, if you go back and look. And I like it. I really do, but I do like the EDT better, and I've said that before in other videos, just because it is lighter, and that's typically what I look for when I want to wear First Instinct. I like it, you know, being more light like that for the summertime, but still, the Extreme version is slept on. If you want something with a bit more depth, maybe for evenings, you know, spring, summer evenings, or even if you want to wear it into fall and, you know, you want something a bit more sweet, check out the Extreme version. It is the better performing version, which is nice because the EDT is not known for its performance. This is a really nice one, definitely slept on. I don't see anyone talking about the Extreme version all that often, and it's a nice one. Finally, the last fragrance we have in this list, Armani Coat. Just the original. Yeah, I know. I mean, Armani Coat, it's been out for a while. A lot of people have worn it. And yeah, I may have that generic label on it at this point, but I still like this one. Even though we have Armani Coat Profumo, Armani Coat Absolute, Armani Coat Colonia, there's a ton of flankers at this point. I like the OG quite a bit, and it's one that I do still like to wear and I do like to smell. Even though we have these other flankers which may be better now and, you know, a bit more modern and up to date, you can't go wrong with the OG Armani Coat. Really nice one here. You can get this discounted for really, really affordable. I believe I paid like $45 or so for this bottle size here, which really isn't too bad. It is relatively affordable. It's a nice fragrance, and, you know, again, it may be played out at this point, but it still is nice, and, you know, not many people give the original EDT that much love anymore. So guys, that's gonna do it for me. That was 10 forgotten fragrances that just don't get that much talk anymore. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and again, all these fragrances will be linked down below in the description so you can check them out, some of the best prices around. That's gonna do it for me, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night with another one. Take care.